First up, let me say, this is not a review of these wines. This was in pursuit of curiosity because I collect this wine every single year, regardless of the vintage conditions or the scores from other reviewers. This is a wine that I have a very big soft spot for, and these are from my cellar. I just opened them today. I just wanted to see what they're looking like. While we as drinkers, as collectors, buy wine and cellar it every year, I think that we rarely check in on wines anywhere near as much as we should. And there's no point in keeping wine for a really long time and then finding that you probably should have drunk it 2, 5, 10, 15 years earlier. It's a waste. So I like every now and again to do something like this, open them all up and see how they're looking. The other beautiful part about opening wines en masse like this is if you open a bottle, an 18, I'll drink it and love it and it will be gorgeous. But I'm probably just going to forget about the wine in time, as you do, because there's lots of wine that you drink. But you're rarely going to forget about the time that you opened 7 in a row. So full disclosure, I had 6 in my cellar and was missing the 16, hence the little bottle. That was the only one I could get my hands on in short notice. But in terms of consistency and plugging the gap, I thought that would be really nice. So the other thing to note when we're looking at a vertical like this is the perennial question of, do you start with the youngest first or the oldest first? And I think that there's really no right answer to that. Part of me likes to start with the youngest wines first because they're fresh and they're vibrant and you understand immediately what the winemaker was pitching at. And then as you go through, the tannins soften, tertiary characters are introduced into the wine. You get a little more spice complexity and I'm not sure, you get like a more clear picture of the wine. On the other hand, if you start with the older wines first, you get the softer, spicier, more complete version of itself, and you work upwards. The only problem with doing it this way, I find, is that you can become progressively more excited by the freshness in the wine, and that can lead to higher impressions, better impressions, higher scores, whatever way you'd like to look at it. So for the interest of today, I'm going to look at the 13 first and the 19 last. I looked at this just very recently and loved it. So I sort of know what I'm going to get there. And I haven't looked at any of them yet. I'm literally going to drink them with you as we go. So yeah, as I say, it's not a review. This is literally just me opening the wines, checking in on them and seeing whether or not I should be drinking them sooner or holding them for far longer. So in bottle number 1, there's the 2013 Yarra Yering Dry Red number 1. So this is 70% Cab, 15 Merlot, 10 Malbec, and 5 PV. So these two wines, and possibly this one, I could get less information on this wine, but these two wines are both matured in 100% French oak, whereas these wines are 40% new French oak. 100% new, 40% new. The impact of oak in these newer wines is far less, obviously. And these two wines here do come across as having far more grunt and beef about them. So we'll see. So 2013. It's really good. It's like kind of roasted beetroot, it's earthy, it's got blood plums, there's heirloom tomatoes. The oak has actually sunk right into the fruit. This is looking very elegant and beautiful at this stage. It's certainly perceptible, but it's not something that overtakes the experience. And actually, I think that if you have any of this vintage or these older vintages, 13, 14, I think that they're really wonderful. What you get in a wine of this age is the ability to look forwards and you can see where the wine is going in terms of age and complexity and spice and softness and all of those good things. But you can also look back. You can see the primary fruit and all the juiciness and the brightness. So I like that duplicity, that dual nature of these middling wines in terms of age. But we're all different. That's the whole point. 2014. So this, I couldn't find any information on the blend breakdown. As I say, I buy these wines with little to no regard for vintage or score. I just think that Sarah Crowe, the winemaker, is just she's an absolute wizard. She's got a real way with tannin and flavour, and I'm just yeah, in awe of her capability. So I just buy them and love them. 2014. Lighter on its feet, finer, less muscular, less dense than the 13 is today. Probably for my personal preference, I get a little more satisfaction from this style, but if you like that umami, earthy, almost mushroomy without being old character, then the 13 is going to be your pick. I like the finesse of the 14. That's just me. 2015 was a really excellent vintage in the Yarra. There are a number, I was going to say a few, but a number of very good wines produced in that year. So this is 67% Cab, 16 Merlot, 13 Malbec and 4 Petit Verdot. Yeah, it's got beautiful structure. The tannins are kind of powdery and soft, and it's very, very long and spicy, and it's savoury. That's a beautiful, elegant, gorgeous wine in a gorgeous place. I still think that we're now getting into territory where you probably should or are able to keep this for a number of more years before you drink it, because I think that in terms of visibility of old and new, it's evolving quite slowly, and you're really only just getting a little hint of what it could offer you in the future. So I would not be too keen to dive into that again for another couple of years, whereas these two I'd be happy to drink at any time. Now, 2016, we're looking at a small bottle here, 375ml. That really does affect the way that the wine ages, and often if you're ever wanting to age your wine, you should never purchase it in a half bottle. It will age quicker than if it's in a 750 or Magnum, even better. And as is the case here. So this is 66% Cab, 16% Merlot, 15% Malbec, and the balance, does that make it 3% Petit Verdot. So from here on, all the components, and it could be the case for these, but I'll need to find the detail. All of the components are hand-picked, hand-sorted, and kept separately in French oak for 15 months, which is only 40% new, and then blended prior to bottling. So the impact of oak, as I say, is far less. So this has developed more. This is getting a little bit of the hung deli meat, savoury, heirloom tomato, beetrooty sort of character, but still got beautiful primary fruit, as we would expect from a wine that's a year younger than this. Beautiful. A shame that it's in a 375ml bottle, because I can see where that has just taken the edge off it, but really incredible and quite closed still at this point. So I would suggest perhaps with the 16, we may be crossing a threshold here, and I would suggest 15 is a pretty special wine, and I would wait a couple of years before you dive into yours. Although if you've got lots, I would definitely open one now and just see how beautiful it is. 16 is still quite closed, so you can comfortably leave that one. Moving into 17, so 17 and 19 are birth years for my boys. I try and get as many wines as I can of interest that will age. So this is 70% Cabernet, 18% Merlot, 8% Malbec, and 4% Petit Verdot. As mentioned, all the components are kept separately, 15 months in 40% new French oak. Yeah, these are now what I would class, having been down here. These are now really quite young wines. The oak just changes so much about it, because, and I would say the oak is not 100% new there, like looking at these, but the tannins are just so fine and so beautiful and almost imperceptible. They're everywhere and they're nowhere all at once. It's shapely and it's whippy, and it's an incredibly beautiful wine. I love that, and I'm so pleased that I've got some of those, because I think that's going to be really beautiful in time. It's really quite young now. I mean, it's got decades left. 2018 was very low proportion of Cabernet, I suppose, in the context of the lineup. So 55% Cabernet, 28% Merlot, 12% Malbec, and the balance Petit Verdot. I think that leaves it at around 5%, if my numbers are right. I mean, looking at them like this, I'm so pleased I get these every year. They're so good. That is just beautiful, elegant, buoyant, balanced Cabernet. The tannins are they're absolutely enmeshed with the fruit. There are no seams between the fruit and the tannins. Incredibly beautiful wine and very affirming for my collection. I'm very, very pleased to have this in here. Yeah, wow, they're all looking gorgeous. And then 2019. So I was just very recently acquainted with this wine again. It's only just been released. 67 Cab, 15 Merlot, 12 Malbec, and the balance Petit Verdot. I think that makes it 5 or 6. Again, same separate components. 15 months in French oak, 40% new. The 19 when I first tried it was so gorgeous because it was a warmer year in the Yarra that year, which is excellent for fruit ripening in that area, especially when we're looking at later ripening reds like Cabernet, Merlot, Malbec and Petit Verdot. And I was so taken aback by how mellifluous and flowing and silken this wine was. It was so purely vibrant and gorgeous at the time. And that was maybe a year ago. I think I had this pre-release and it was just beguiling is an understatement. That is still coming into itself. It is so inchoate and young, but the tannin shape you can see, I mean, with young Cabernet, it's not as useful to pay attention to the flavours because the flavours of young Cabernet are gorgeous. What you should be paying attention to are the tannins, the shape of the tannins, how they sit in the mouth, how long they are, what the draw of flavour over the mouth is. This is still very, very young, but still just so sensational. And like all of these, the tannins and the structure is almost imperceptible. But the wine is a very, very wonderful and elegant flowing example of Cabernet. They're exceptional, and if you don't already collect these, I would recommend just at least trying it if you like Cabernet. It's just such an important wine, I think, to the Australian Cabernet story. And when you know, obviously I believe that Margaret River is one of the great regions in Australia for Cabernet Sauvignon. Yarra Valley I love. I also collect every year the Mount Mary Quintet. How could I not? From New Zealand, the Tomato Coleraine. I just secured my 2020s today. That's an exceptional wine, very close to the cepage here. It's like a 50% Cabernet, mixed other varieties. It's a wonderful, wonderful wine, very elegant, gorgeous tannins. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear what you collect in your collection, what your mainstays are every year. Cabernet is a big one for me. I love the tannins. I talk about tannins all the time, but I just love tannins and how they sit in the mouth and how they give you a bit of extra chew and kind of pliability. Yeah, I mean, Cabernet, how good. Let me know what you're collecting. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. I'd love to be able to share with you the new videos as they come out. I'm doing 1 or 2 a week going forward, so there'll be plenty to watch. And yeah, in the meantime, drink as well as you possibly can. Life is short.